Now, here on Breakfast, we have been following the stories of several sports stars who have been diagnosed with motor neurone disease. They include the former rugby players Rob Burrow and Doddy Weir and the retired footballer Stephen Darby.
Well, just a few weeks ago, Ed Slater, the former Gloucester Rugby Union player, became the latest athlete to announce that he has the disease. Later this morning, he'll set off on a 350-mile bike ride to raise funds.
In his first interview, Ed has spoken to us about how he is coming to terms with his own diagnosis.
Losing 1 week, winning the next. Lots and lots of ups and downs. Used to dealing with adversity. Albeit nowhere near the level I'm having to deal with it now. But it gives me some solid foundations. About 5-6 months ago, I went through some testing and ultimately ended up with a diagnosis of motor neurone disease 2 or 3 weeks ago now. Yeah, it's something you kind of never dream of happening to you, but it's happened and I've got to get on with it and face it.
When did you first suspect that there might be something wrong?
Well, symptoms started about 11 months ago in October, maybe 10 months, but just started with muscle twitches. I had them before, so I didn't think a great deal of them until about a week after they hadn't stopped. You know, it was 24/7 non-stop, which is obviously not what I'm used to. So I had that for about 2 or 3 months before I really said anything about it, because I didn't really want to face up to the fact that there could be something wrong at that point, until I started to lose strength in my arm and my hand, which was probably a sign that I needed to go and speak to someone about it. But it'd been 11 months of going through the ringer of trying to look for something, trying to wait for something to come up that would take me on a different path to the one I'm on. Unfortunately, nothing did come up, and that is the path I'm on. And it's very difficult to get that news, as you can imagine. But my attitude is very much day by day. You know, that keeps my spirits high.
Lots of people talk about that moment when they're diagnosed, what they're told, what the doctor says to them, the questions that they ask. What are your memories of that moment when it happened?
I'd spent probably 3 or 4 weeks thinking, this is what's going to happen on the day. You're going to go there and you're going to speak to a specialist and they're going to tell you that you have M&D. And I thought, if I prepare for that, any other news will feel amazing. And so when I actually got delivered the news, it wasn't immediate shock. It was kind of validation of what I'd been preparing for, if you like. It knocked my wife very, very hard, even though we'd kind of been talking about it for a long time and maybe as an ifs and buts. And I think once we started talking about the realities of it, we kind of swapped roles, and my wife went, well, here's what I can do to help. That was her attitude, and she felt, empowered by that, whereas actually when we were talking about the realities of it, that's where I found it really difficult, and that's probably where I was most emotional.
How are you physically? How do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel like I'm fighting against something that is progressing. Like I said to you, my first symptoms were with my left arm, with my hand, and that hasn't changed. And I can feel that that's getting weaker and weaker. There are things happening with my left leg, so I'm conscious of that. But I've got to be careful. I'm not waking up every day and looking for something to be worse. I've just got to take each day as it comes.
Your children are so young. You've got 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. You took the decision quite quickly, I think, to tell them.
Yeah, I think, sorry, I might get emotional at this point.
It's okay.
Yeah, telling the kids they are young, and that's why I say we adapted it a little bit how we told them, but they are Kids are amazingly resilient, and in that moment they may have found it difficult, but once they realised nothing was changing immediately and it didn't suddenly impact their lives, you know, drastically, they get on with things, and in some ways that's really refreshing for me. Just to be around them, when you get the news, just to be around them is a great source of comfort.
And I believe one of the things you've already done is you've already taken steps to save your voice, to bank your voice.
Yeah, and when we were talking about the things that probably knocked me after my diagnosis, hearing about banking my voice was one of those. I found that quite a difficult concept, because you have to face the reality of what this disease can do, but absolutely crucial, and a really difficult step. There's an amazing book called I Will Always Be Me that's been written, and it's a very emotional book, but it's written to save your voice, to bank your voice. I sat down with my daughter actually, and we read, or she listened to me reading I Will Always Be Me, and I mean, she loved the book. I don't think she really understood what was going on, but she was pleased to hear me reading a book to her. So yeah, I'm pleased I've done that. It gives me a little bit of peace knowing that I've done that in the kind of best state I can, really.
How aware were you already of the work that Doddy Weir, Stephen Darby and Rob Burrow have been doing? Because they're men we've spoken to on our programme a lot.
Even this morning I was speaking to one of the players here, and he said, if you'd have asked me before I found out about Doddy and before I found out about Rob whether I knew anything about MND, and he said I wouldn't have known a thing. So that tells you everything you need to know. There's so many people that are more aware of the condition of the disease because of the work those guys have done. So I see it naturally that I should add my voice, albeit it's a smaller voice because they're two giants of rugby. I will add it though, and I feel determined that I should do that in a positive way.
Really underlines, doesn't it, the power of talking about it.
Yeah.
And you found that, and the ability to help so many other people by just talking about what you're going through.
And I think that's something that Doddy and Stephen and Rob have helped to change, because I think previously lots of people who are diagnosed with motor neurone disease might just want to go home and shut the door. That's what Doddy always said in the past. That's what people would want to do and hide away. And they have helped change that. And that's something that Ed is also doing now as well, by talking about it and still living a life.
Yeah, really incredible stuff to hear that firsthand. Well, let's take you now to Gloucester, where John Maguire is. He's with Ed and a team of supporters. As we said, they're preparing to set off on that 350-mile bike ride. John, good morning.
Yeah, morning to you, Ben. As you were saying, and Sally was saying, two things I think that stand out there really. One is that this idea of shouting things from the rooftop and carrying on life as best as you possibly can. So we're at Kingsholm. Morning, Kingsholm. Quite a good turnout. If you're a rugby fan you've ever had to contend with, if you've been an opposition fan with the Shed, you'll know what the noise is like here at Kingsholm. It's Ed's home club. The route that they'll take, quite brutal over the next 3 days, 350 miles they're going to be doing, something like 90 miles today, all the way up to Leicester, Ed's former club where he was captain there. Then on to Milton Keynes, which is Ed's hometown, then down to Twickenham, and then back to Gloucester on Wednesday. So a punishing schedule. Ed, morning to you, morning to the rest of the guys as well. Morning. In good voice. Yeah, chamois cream I think has been applied, hasn't it, to the nth degree. What's it like to see this turn out this morning? We just heard you talking to Sally there about what the last couple of months have been for you like. What are your emotions this morning?
Yeah, incredibly humbling, really, that this many people will come out to see me off on a bike. I'm not sure they know what they're in for, but the quiet from the lads probably says everything. We're nervous, but looking forward to it.
Because it's not a normal activity for a rugby player, is it? You train for power and immediate speed, not necessarily endurance like this.
Backs and necks aren't designed to be in a position for too long, so I think that's going to be a struggle for my friend Fraser here. But Maybe a bit of paracetamol will get us through.
The forwards always get the hassle, don't they? Fraser, how are you feeling about the next couple of days? And let me ask you why you decided to join in, or did you have no choice? Tell me.
No, me and Ed had discussed we wanted to do something whilst we can, obviously, and I thought cycling's one of the easiest things. Well, I can't run, I can't really walk, so I thought cycling was about my only option. So, no, it's really good. I've obviously wanted to do something with Ed, and obviously everyone else here wants to as well.
Jim Hamilton, good to see you here this morning. Also looking slightly nervous, I would say, are you?
Very.
The message and getting this point across, this business about really shouting it from the rooftops and letting people know what Ed can still do and what can still be achieved. Tell us why you're here.
Well, I'm here for that very reason. Ed Slater's a player that I played against, huge amount of respect for. He's at my old club, Leicester was my old club as well, but also seeing how the community have come together. We saw that with Doddy Weir, with Rob Burrow, and you know, in the face of adversity, amazing things can sometimes happen, and it's about shouting from the rooftop, isn't it? It's about being able to gather that momentum, carry on that momentum in terms of raising money and awareness for MND, and great bunch of people have turned out. You know, Ed's an absolute legend, and we're with him all the way.
Lewis, club captain here at Gloucester. We often talk about the family of rugby, especially, unfortunately, when players are injured or have to retire, and how the sport rallies round to support them. Is that what you're doing here?
Yeah, you know, it's what the club's about. You see the people here in the cherry and white, and like Jim said, Ed's a top bloke, and we'd follow him anywhere. So that's why these boys are here, and like you say, doing this challenge.
And how are you feeling about it? You a cyclist?
No, not at all. This is only the second time I've got on this bike, so it should be entertaining.
I should tell everyone at home that, look at the guys, Tom, just show us that they've all got the proper cycling shoes on, you know, with the clips at the bottom, so they are slightly nervous about whether or not they're going to be able to set off in one piece. Billy 12 Trays, morning to you. Again, did you take much persuading?
Not at all. When Ed asked me, I was happy to help. I met Ed 10 years ago at Leicester, and then he came to Gloucester, had a family here. We're friends, we're family, grew up together, and anything to support a top bloke like Ed. He's an amazing character, and his family are amazing, and all the boys here, everyone here is just behind him and his family, and we can't wait to get going and have some fun along the way and raise some awareness and some money for a great bloke and a great family.
I hope you'll all be smiling at the end of today, at the end of tomorrow, when you come back on Wednesday as well. Ed, you were telling Sally you are determined to carry on living as you can. You've done the voice capture thing. I remember meeting somebody who did that years ago, being absolutely blown away by it. You know, every day you must wake up perhaps with a different mindset, do you? I mean, you're still learning.
Yeah, learning definitely, and as my physical side of things change, and I'm sure that'll change my mentality a little bit as well. But to be honest with you, I don't think too far into the future. All I can control is day by day, enjoy each day with the family, try and get out and do things like this with people I love being around, and I find that helps my mindset.
All right, well, I think you're doing a fantastic job today. I'm sure people will hear your messages loud and clear. Oh, Charlie, you're hiding there behind the... I can't let you off the hook. You're perhaps one of the slighter guys, aren't you? You know, you're not a forward, so you'll probably do all right in the bike.
Well, I might have a weight advantage. But,
yeah.
Well, it will be good. All the boys will be fine. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be good. Everyone's excited.
Yes, yeah, excited. That's what you are, absolutely. OK, we're about to set you off. Ed, thank you so much for sharing your story with us this morning. We know, don't we, through Rob Burrow, through Doddy Weir as well, just how important it is to get that message out there. So, should we get you started?
I'll tell you what. I can clip in.
Yeah, you clip in. Try not to fall off. We'll do it. Should we do a countdown, Kingsholm? Let's do a countdown. Tom, you and I will move up here. You go a little bit further back. Let's do a countdown then from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And they're off. Big cheer. Go on, Ed. Well done, Charlie.
And they are on their way.
350 miles awaits them over the next 3 days, taking in some important personal places on that journey, as we said, so Milton Keynes and down to Twickenham, and then back to where they are there in Gloucester.
Shall we just share with everyone at home, just very quickly, Ed's Just Giving page, which is what he's been talking about. There he goes. It's at £80,000 at the moment. He wants to raise awareness, cash, for motor neurone disease. Ed, as we've just been talking about this morning, diagnosed just a very short time ago. Another sportsman diagnosed with motor neurone disease. There is no treatment. There is currently no cure.
Really interesting to hear your chat with him. A long road ahead, but lots of good work that is being done and more money there being raised. Much more still to come